Okay, we're going to replace the natural gas valve on the Bosch Next 500 series dryer with a propane valve. When you get the propane valve, make sure that it is in fact propane. I don't know if I can focus in on this. Anyhow, the customer part number is 507 000 661, and it has in the left bottom corner it says REG 11.0 inches. All right, that would be your propane. To start with, you're going to need some tools. You're going to need a 1-inch open-end wrench, a 5/8 inch open-end wrench, and a T20 Torx, which is this little guy right here. There's a lot of screws to take out, so if you have a driver, it'll make the job a lot easier. In the back, you start by removing the 20 screws that you see along here. Okay. So I'm going to shut the camera off now. I'm going to remove these 20 screws, and then we'll get a look at the inside. Okay, the screws are removed. Now note that the ones in the middle are different than the ones around the perimeter. So keep those 5 separate. Next thing you want to do is you want to lift the top up. Just lift it up. Take it off. Alright. Now we got a couple more screws on each side. You have to take those off. Okay, you have to remove the power cord from the back panel, and to do that, it slips off. All right, you don't disconnect the white. You just slip this off the back panel. There's a little spot for it. All right, the next step is going to be inside at the bottom. What you have is your belt that drives the drum. In order to get that belt off, you have to pull the lever to the right, and then you take the belt off of the drum. So, I don't know if you can see this or not, but that comes over like that. All right, I'm gonna have to turn the camera off because I need both hands, but anyhow, that's how you do it. You pull that takes the tension off, and then you just take the belt off. Okay, now you can see that the belt has been removed. Next step is to take out the screws at the bottom, these right here. All right. Come on. Kind of hard to do this with one hand. Well, I'll take it off, start the camera again. All right. Next, you have to lift the drum, get your arms around it, lift it, and pull it out. And then you just put it away for safekeeping. So I'm going to do that now. Just get my arms around it and lift it out. Okay, now we're ready to start disconnecting the gas valve. In the beginning I had said it's a 1-inch. That was according to the directions. But in fact it's really a 3/4 inch and a 5/8 inch. Alright, so 3/4 inch and 5/8. Maybe your dryer is different. I don't know, but that's what I have in mind. The next thing, after you get the gas valves disconnected, you're going to want to disconnect the wires that go to the gas valve. Alright? Then the wires that go to the igniter down here. Alright? And remove the black clip from the bottom plate. Alright? But anyhow, you want to disconnect the wires is basically what you're doing at this point. We've got all these wires that are going in. So, let me get started with that. Okay, at this point, I've got the wires disconnected. Now, it's important that the wires go back the way they came from. So, what I did is made note that the red one goes in the front, brown one goes in the back, so on and so forth. This one here has a label on it. So anyhow, just make notes of where these wires are coming off from, so when you put them back on, you put them on the right connector. The other thing is, you're not supposed to remove this right here. Let me, I don't know if I can get this in or not. That, you don't remove that off of the panel that it's on. Instead, you remove the connector. Now, if you note, I put a black dot, so again, so that you don't get confused in where you put it. Now, these connectors over here are difficult to get off. The plastic moves back, so you may have to move it back and just sort of ease them off with a screwdriver along the edges, but be careful that you don't break them. Anyhow, it's what you're doing at this point is you're disconnecting all the wires that hold this in place. All right, because you're going to want to remove this. So just make sure that all the wires are disconnected. Some of them don't have to come out. Like, you know, this whole harness doesn't have to come out. Oh, one other thing, there is a little black connector down here. See this? That goes into the bottom, and that just holds all the wires together. So you're going to want to loosen that up too, so that nothing is holding the wires into the unit when you're ready to remove it. Okay, at this point, the wires are all disconnected. The gas line is disconnected. And this screw right here is disconnected. You take that out, and then this whole thing will come out. All right. Oops. Forgot. There's a wire back here. We got to disconnect this. Actually, instead of disconnecting this wire, I'm just going to move the whole thing over like this and be done with it. So this is next. This is the gas valve. We're going to start taking this apart. Next, we have to remove the service panel. In order to do that, you have to take something pointed, stick it through. There's a little bracket there. You see our little tab. You push that out. You push it out, and then you turn the whole thing and pull it out. But you have to, as I say, you have to push that little tab in order to make it turn. So what we want to do now is remove this screw. Okay, we're back inside. What we're going to take out now is this screw, so we can get the burner assembly out, and we're going to remove the screws that hold it onto the burner assembly. Okay, we've got it out. We're going to remove all the screws that hold this together. 1, 2, and 3. And then we got the 3 on the bottom of the valve to come off. We're going to take this ring off and put that aside because you won't be using that for the propane. However, if you ever want to go back to natural gas, you'll need that. So, again, keep this ring right here. Okay, as they say, reassembly is just the reverse. So just put the screws back together, put the valve back on. One thing I would caution you though, as you can see, that's the igniter. It broke off. Although they don't tell you to in the instructions to remove the igniter, I think if I was to do this again, I would remove it. Simply take the screw out, pull this out, and wait till you're all done and put the igniter back on. I found a new one on eBay for $15. The ones on Amazon are $45. So it pays to shop around a little. But anyhow, this igniter had been used for 5, 6, 7 years, so probably time to change it out anyhow. Okay, at this point I've got the valve back in. I've got the wires hooked up, as you can see. Note how they go, that this part here goes down. That faces down when you're putting it in. anyhow, next step is to put this back in place, screw it together, and hook the wires up. And as I said, it's important to note where all these wires go, because now you got wires that are hanging around and you say, well, does this go on the top or does this go on the bottom? Well, you know, I had already marked that, so I know where it's going to go. Same with the wires on this side. Note if the red goes on the top or the bottom, just so you get things hooked back up again. So, yeah, I just finished hooking it up. Okay, everything's hooked back up except for the igniter wire right over here. That plugs into there, so I just have to wait for it to come in the mail, a couple days. Anyhow, that's it. The wires are all together. That's put in. Once the back gets put on, this gets tightened up. Oh, one other thing. When you're removing this pipe, do it after you've disconnected all the wires. Don't try to get in there and loosen it up with all these wires here. You're liable to rip something apart. So disconnect all your wires before you take this pipe apart, and put that pipe together before you hook all the wires up. So far that's it.